Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Do you have lots of Facebook friends? Do you know all of them in real life? Would you accept a friend request from someone you don't know? Not only you shouldn't, but you should make sure that the young people around you know the dangers of the internet. It could literally be the death of them. In today's video, we're going to talk about a young girl who was killed by the internet, specifically Facebook. 17-year-old Asheigh Hall. Let's chat. So this is Asleigh. Asleigh was a typical 17-year-old girl, and she lived in Darlington in the UK. Darlington, round about sort of Middlesbrough area, up in the north. That's where Asleigh lived. As I say, a typical 17-year-old girl. Like most teenage girls, Ashleigh's mobile phone and the internet featured in her everyday life. She had many friends. She was popular, and on Facebook itself, she had around 400 friends. Apparently, she knew all these friends. However, one September, a friend request popped up in her inbox from a handsome 17-year-old boy named Peter Cartwright. Asleigh was one of 173 people who accepted Peter Cartwright as a friend on the networking site, and almost all of these 173 people were young women. As a typical teenage girl, Asleigh was impressed by his handsome appearance and flattered by his attention. He seemed to be genuinely interested in her, and she felt they had a special connection. As time went by, they chatted regularly, eventually moving on to other popular social networks such as MSN and Tagged.com. 1 month later, Ashleigh's new friend Peter Cartwright asked Asleigh to meet him in person. Asleigh was excited. Although the very first meeting they arranged, he in fact did not turn up, but he assured her that he would turn up this time. She packed an overnight bag and she told her mother she was going to stay at her friend's. It was the 25th of October, 2009. Peter texted Asleigh to tell her that his father, in fact, would pick her up as he couldn't drive. And this message was followed by another message from his dad from another phone, confirming this and arranging a time. Hi, hun. It's Pete's dad. Are you sure you don't mind me picking you up? Pete is really looking forward to seeing you. And yes, it's okay for you to stay. Ashleigh replied. No, I don't mind. I trust him, so I trust you. And thank you. Then Peter Cartwright texted. Me dad's on his way, babe. He says excuse the state of him, lol. He doesn't have to come in and meet your mum, does he, lol? He'll be a mess, probably, lol. Oh, and are you wearing some sexy underwear for me, babe? Heh, heh. Ashleigh answered, okay, babe. And no, he doesn't, lol. And it's okay, ha ha. What car has he got? And you will have to wait and see, won't you? Kiss, kiss. Ashleigh was never seen alive again. Peter Cartwright, in fact, simply did not even exist. His Facebook profile was a total fake and had in fact been put up by convicted sex offender Peter Chapman. Peter Chapman, in fact, was 33 years old, small, weedy, bald, practically toothless. He was homeless and living in his car. Chapman had spent months creating fake profiles on various social networking sites, hoping to eventually lure a victim like Ashleigh. He apparently used the internet to make contact with 2,981 girls aged between 13 and 31, who posted 854 comments on his Facebook page. So who was Peter Chapman? Peter Chapman was born in Darlington and was brought up by his grandparents in neighbouring Stockton-on-Tees before finally moving to Liverpool in 2005 when he was 26 years old. He had a history of sex abuse. He was first investigated at the age of 15, and when he was only 19, he received a 7-year prison sentence for raping 2 sex workers at knife point. After being released in 2001, as time went on, incredibly, he literally fell off the police radar. This failing was reported, as always, to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Usual lip service and lessons to be learned, I imagine. Only days before he murdered Ashleigh, Chapman had tried to tempt a girl of 15 into his car in Hartlepool. She fortunately escaped his clutches. After seeing him in the car, she ran off. Another girl had not turned up to meet him when they had arranged to meet. And the following day, after Ashleigh's murder, he had a date with yet another young girl. Luckily, the police picked him up as he had no insurance on his car. What a lucky escape those 3 girls had. Ashleigh, unfortunately, was not to be so lucky. Chapman was determined to find a victim, and he just kept trying until he finally managed to convince trusting Ashleigh to meet him. My heart breaks to think how excited she would have been packing her overnight case, looking forward to meeting this lad that she'd fallen in love with over the internet. Looking forward, really forward to meeting Peter Cartwright. Then my heart breaks again, thinking how absolutely terrified she would have been when she realised what was going on really. Who this man who was supposed to be Peter Cartwright's father really was. Did he tell her who he really was? What was the conversation that went between them? Did she try and text Peter Cartwright and then hear the text come through on the phone in the car? When did she realise? That poor girl, what she went through. But too late, she realised she'd made a terrible mistake. The police were actually looking for Chapman, not for murder, but because his car had been picked up on the police computer as having no insurance. And remember, he was living in his car because he was homeless at the time. And the police had gone back to his accommodation to check on him several times, under the conditions of his release from prison. But he wasn't there, but they didn't seem to take it seriously enough and look for his car or look any further. So they picked him up because of the car, not knowing what happened to Ashleigh. What a shame that they didn't pick him up the day before. Anyway, when he arrived at the police station, he just started off not mentioning anything about Ashleigh, just talking about the car. He said, "You can scrap the car, I don't care, scrap the car." But then suddenly he seemed to have a change of heart, and we'll be watching his confession shortly. And he confessed to having killed someone the night before. I believe he did that when he realised he was going to lose his car, and as he was living in his car, he had nowhere to go. It was coming into the winter, it was October. He probably preferred the comfort of prison. He'd been in prison before, knew prison was comfortable. Certainly more comfortable than living on the streets. Anyway, in the lead up to the trial, Chapman then pled not guilty despite having confessed in the police station that day. However, but the night before the trial started, he finally pled guilty, which at least spared her family the agony of a trial. Chapman had picked Ashleigh up near her home and then drove her to Thorpe Larches near Sedgefield, where he attacked her. He RAPD'd her, and then after that, her arms were bound up again, and he put tape over her face and suffocated her to death. Her body was dumped in a gully up against a fence by the old Stockton Road. And Chapman was arrested, as I say, the following day after a nationwide alert was issued to trace the car he had been using. Again, if only that nationwide alert had been put out the day before or a couple of days before that. Durham police have admitted that had he remained silent, the car would probably have been crushed and valuable evidence would have been lost. In that car was a used condom, Ashleigh's mobile phone, and duct tape with Ashleigh's hair on it. Following his conviction for kidnap, RAPE and murder, Peter Chapman is now being held at Frankland High Security Prison. This is the United Kingdom's largest Category A prison, and it is located in County Durham not far from where he murdered Ashleigh. Peter Chapman was sentenced to a minimum of 35 years. So we're just going to watch now what the police had to say.
This is the confession of a murderer who stalked young girls on the internet.
Right, do you remember what you said to me in the cell?
I killed somebody last night. I need to tell somebody from CID where the body.
He's such a little weedy man, isn't he? He must have had a knife or something like that. I mean, his previous conviction was for RAPE at knife point of 2 women. You know, but having said that, just because he's a little wimp, you know, a little, I don't know, he just looks so innocuous, doesn't he? But of course, that doesn't mean anything, does it? Little nasty, maybe he had small man syndrome, I don't know. But, you know, this man has been a danger to women since he was 15 years old. I hope to God he's never actually released. Let's just watch that from the beginning again.
This is the confession of a murderer who stalked young girls on the internet.
Right, do you remember what you said to me in the cell?
I killed somebody last night. I need to tell somebody from CID where the body is.
Peter Chapman is a 33-year-old convicted rapist, a loner who was living rough. But this is who he pretended to be, a 17-year-old student available for a good time. His victim was Asheigh Hall. She was a 17-year-old student. She fell for Chapman's lies. He kidnapped, raped and murdered her.
I'd like to take this opportunity to use Ashleigh's death to put a message out to the public about the dangers of using social networking sites. It's clear from our investigations that sexual predators are using these sites to meet, groom and target their next victims. And that's exactly what happened in the case with Ashleigh.
Peter Chapman has a long history of sex offences, but his online activities made a mockery of the sex offenders register that is meant to protect other people. A Sky News investigation has uncovered a stream of messages to young girls over 3 years. In this one, he's trying to arrange a meeting with a girl. It's not known if it went ahead. We also found messages dated the 19th and 20th of October last year looking for girls on Teesside. That was when he first.
There's a massive lesson to learn here. And it's a shame that Ashleigh had to die, if you like, to get this, almost to get this message out. I think maybe nowadays people are, because of cases like Ashleigh's, and it's not the only one, there's been loads. Because of cases like Ashleigh's, maybe people are more savvy about this now. You know, I just feel like Ashleigh was really trusting. She wanted to believe what he was saying to her. He must have been very, very convincing. She mustn't have realised that he was talking to all these other girls as well. It's the trouble, the internet, you can invent a life on the internet. You know, you really have no idea when you meet somebody on the internet if that's the only place you know them from, especially if you haven't, you know, you've just seen a picture of them. You know, sometimes I think, and not only young, no, you know, Ashleigh was a young girl, so she was especially vulnerable to someone like him. You know, he played on her vulnerabilities, on her, apparently she had a lack of self-esteem. He played on all that. He was older, wiser in that sense. But I know women, not young women, who have had relationships, for 2-year relationships over the internet, calling someone their boyfriend when they've never even met them because they live in completely different countries or whatever. You know, people get sucked in, and it's not always who you think. So my message, to be honest, the reason I'm doing this video is I do worry about people who are, how can I put it, like, I'm probably overcautious I don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt. That's a lifetime of things that have happened to me, but also doing true crime videos, you just like, in the end, it's difficult to trust anyone. But, some people are more trusting. I just want people to realise, people of all ages, but especially young people. And if you're a young person watching, or if you know young people, your children, your grandchildren, please just get this through to them one way or another. A lot of them are quite savvy now, I think. This is over 10 years ago. So it's 15 years ago. So although the internet was sort of in its infancy a little bit, maybe people are a little bit more wiser now because of cases like Ashleigh's. But anyway, this is the reason why I'm doing that. I just want to get through to as many people as possible. Be very careful on the internet. You really do not know who you're speaking to. You don't know who's monitoring be careful with your privacy settings. You don't know who's monitoring your conversations, where you live, what you do. Do you go for a walk every day in the morning with your dog? Same time, etc. God, my dog's ears just popped up then when I said walk. It's like, he's like, what did you say? Did somebody say walk? Those kind of things vary routes, vary times. You just don't know. It's not only with Facebook. All social media, even your Strava, your Fitbit, these kind of things can let people know where you are at times, and you just don't know who's out there taking notice of you, even though you may not have even noticed them.
Contacted Asleigh. Asheigh Hall was described in court as a girl with low self-esteem, someone who would be flattered by any boy taking an interest in her. She was easy prey for Peter Chapman. We found these photos online. Chapman had used them to attract girls, but he had to find a way to persuade Asleigh to get into the car with him, so he told her his father would pick her up. In a text found on Ashleigh's phone, he said, "Me dad's on his way, babe. He says, excuse the state of him. Lol, he's been at work." When Chapman arrived, Asleigh was taken in. She texted back, "He's here, babe."
Can you imagine this poor girl? This horrible man turns up, dirty, scruffy, not probably had God knows when the last time he had a shower, and he takes her off. And I honestly, my heart just breaks for this girl, just what she had to go through because of him. I hope he's having a hard time in prison. I really do. He just deserves the worst. He deserves the worst treatment. I hope he's been getting it.
Her body was found behind a hedge near Sedgefield in County Durham the next day. Chapman had been arrested for motoring offences and confessed. Within 40 minutes of picking her up, he'd driven Asleigh to a remote lay-by where he'd gagged, raped and murdered her.
Them sort of people should be tagged, and they should be kept an eye on all the time. Shouldn't be allowed out into society anyway. Shouldn't be being let out whatsoever. And for the people who are supposed to keep an eye on him, they should keep an eye on these sort of people.
Chapman is now locked up again, but he had more than 3,000 online female friends. No one knows how many other young women put themselves in danger by agreeing to meet him.
Yep. I mean, the thing is, some girls, if they would have met up with him and something would have happened, if he didn't go on to actually murder them. He said something in court that they'd had an argument about something. He didn't mean it wasn't going to kill her, blah, 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 blah. They had an argument. Yeah, an argument, probably the fact that he'd kidnapped her and raped her. They're just, oh, God, this horrible, horrible man. Do you know, Asleigh, I'm so sorry for how the world treated you and how that man treated you. My heart just breaks for you. It really does. Anyway, Ashleigh's friends have launched a campaign highlighting the potential dangers of the internet, and they've created a set of rules that they call Ashleigh's rules. in the hope they'll keep young people safe in the future. So I'm going to read them out to you. These are Ashleigh's rules. 1. If you're ever meeting up with somebody who is alien to you or your friends, make sure you meet them in a group of at least 2 to 3 people and in a public, well-lit and populated area. 2. Inform somebody of where you're going and what time you should be back, also the name of who you are meeting. 3. Don't accept anyone on social networking sites that you don't know. I never do. Now, this about informing somebody of where you were going. Now, Asleigh had said, unfortunately, she said she was going to stay with a friend, and she said her friend's dad was coming to pick her up. If only, she would have told her mum the truth about where she was going. Would have told him, said to him, oh yeah, your dad needs to come in, see my mum, meet my mum. I need a photo of his registration plate. Because let's face it, if I was going to pick up someone who who didn't know me, like a friend, and they said that to me, if you had nothing to hide, you'd say, yeah, no problem. Take a photo. Yep, take a photo of the registration number. I don't blame you, doing the right thing, being careful. You wouldn't take it badly, or get annoyed that somebody wanted to do that. You would understand that a young girl or a young boy or anyone getting into your car would just, if they didn't know you, would just want to make sure of who you are. So inform somebody of where you're going and what time you should be back, also the name of who you are meeting. 3, don't accept anyone on social networking sites you don't know. 4, remember never to trust anyone who you have met online. You don't know what they're capable of doing. 5, never tell a stranger on network sites or chat rooms anything personal about yourself. For example, where you live, your date of birth, etc. And number 6, never meet anyone you don't know. Simple as. That's Ashleigh's rules. That's what Ashleigh's friends have put together to try and stop this tragic story ever happening to anybody else again. So I just want to say, to finish off, fly free, Ashleigh. I'm sorry the world let you down. Hope your family are coping without you. Apparently, her mum described her as her best friend because, Ashleigh, she was studying to be a nursery nurse. That's what she was at college to do. She loved children. And her and her mum, they were sort of like, her mum was a single parent with Ashleigh for about 11 years. And then she had 3 other daughters who Ashleigh helped to bring up. So they were a very close-knit family. And yeah, Ashleigh's mum lost her best friend. And Ashleigh's sisters lost a fantastic older sister. So it's very sad. Okay. So fly free, Ashleigh. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you.